Hello everybody and welcome to chapter 27 of the book of Shemot as we continue to travel through Tanach. Chapter 27 has 21 verses and it's found in the Koren Sachs Chumash at the very bottom of page 550 and 551. Chapter 27 moves us to the outside of the Mishkan. The previous chapters had focused on the inner structure and vessels, and this chapter describes what happens outside in the courtyard. We will be introduced to the Mizbeach, the altar, where the sacrifices would be brought, the courtyard, the Chatzer, which is the outer space, and finally, as we move into the beginning of Parshas Tetzaveh, we will talk about the lighting of the menorah, which was to be continuously kept alight. Now, what we are talking about when we say that offerings, sacrifices would be brought on the Mizbeach, there are several different types of sacrifices, several different types of animals that would be processed, and depending on what type of sacrifice it was, there would be animals which are slaughtered, and part of the sacrificial process was to bring different parts of those animals up to the altar where they would be burnt. And so there was a continual fire on top of the Mizbeach, which was a vital part of the sacrificial process. There is only one positive mitzvah mentioned in this chapter, and that comes at the beginning of Parshas Tetzaveh, and it is the mitzvah of arranging the candles of the menorah. With that introduction in mind, let us turn to chapter 27, verse 1. V'asisa es hamizbeach atzei shitim. Make the altar from acacia wood, 5 amos orech, v'chamesh amos rochav. It should be 5 amos in length and 5 amos in width. Ravua yihiyeh hamizbeach. The altar shall be square, v'shalosh amos komaso. And it should be 3 amos in height. Verse 2, Va'asisa karnosav al arba pinosav mimenu tihiyena karnosav. You shall make horns on its 4 corners, the horns being of one piece with it, v'tzipisa oso nechoshes, and you shall overlay it with copper. Verse 3, Va'asisa sirosav ledashno, make pots for removing its ashes, v'ya'av, as well as shovels, umizukosav, and basins, umizlagosav, and forks, umachtosav, and fire pans. L'chol kelav ta'aseh nechoshes. Make all of these vessels out of copper. Verse 4. Va'asisa lo michbar maseh reshes nechoshes. Make a grate of bronze mesh for it. Va'asisa al hareshes arba tabos nechoshes. And on the mesh make 4 bronze rings. Al arba kutsosav. At its 4 corners. Verse 5, V'nosata osa tachas karkov hamizbeach milamata. You shall place it under the surrounding border of the mizbeach, of the altar, from below. V'haisa hareshes ad chatzi hamizbeach. So that the mesh reaches the middle of the altar. Verse 6, V'asisa vadim lamizbeach vadei atzei shitim. You shall make poles for the altar, poles of acacia wood. V'tzipisa osam nechoshes, and you shall cover them with copper. Verse 7, V'huva es badav batabaos. Place the poles in the rings. V'hayu habadim al shtei tzalos hamizbeach bis eis oso. So that the poles will be on the 2 sides of the altar when it is carried. Verse 8, Nevuv luchos ta'aseh oso. Make it hollow with planks. Kasher hera osacha bahar ken yasu. Make it in the same way that it was shown to you on the mountain. Verse 9, we now move to discuss the courtyard, the Chatzer. Va'asisa es Chatzar hamishkan. You shall make the courtyard of the Mishkan. Lif'as negev teimana. On the south side. Klaim lechatzer sheish mashzar. There should be lace hangings of the courtyard made of finely twisted linen. Mea va'ama orech lapea ha'echas. 100 amos long for one side. Verse 10, Va'amudav esrim. Va'adnehem esrim nechoshes. And there should be 20 pillars and 20 sockets made out of copper. Vavehu amudim v'chushukehem kasef. And the hooks of the pillars and the bands of the posts shall be made from silver. Verse 11, V'chein, and likewise, lifas safon, on the north side, ba'orech, klaim mea orech. Across the length, the hangings shall be 100 amos long. Va'amudav esrim, there should be 20 pillars, v'adnehem esrim nechoshes, and 20 sockets made out of copper. Vavei ho'amudim v'choshukehem kasef, with the hooks and the bands made of silver. Verse 12, v'rochav hechatzer lifas yam, the width of the courtyard on the western side, klaim 50 amah, the hangings should be 50 amos, amudehem 10 va'adnehem 10, with 10 pillars and 10 sockets. Verse 13, v'rochav hechatzer lifas kedma mizracha 50 amah, the width of the courtyard on the eastern side should be 50 amos. Verse 14, v'chamesh esrei amah klaim lakasef, and 15 amos of the lace hangings, amudehem 3 va'adnehem 3, with 3 pillars and 3 sockets on one side. Verse 15, v'lakasef hashenis, and on the second side, 15 klaim, 15 amos of hangings, amudehem 3 va'adnehem 3, with 3 pillars and 3 sockets. Verse 16, ul-sha'ar hechatzer, and at the gate of the courtyard, masach esrim amah, there should be a screen of 20 amos, tcheles, made out of the turquoisey sky blue coloured wool, va'argaman, and the purple coloured wool, v'solas shani, and the scarlet coloured wool, v'sheish mashzar, and finely spun linen, masei rokem, made by professional embroiderer, amudehem arba'a va'adnehem arba'a, with 4 pillars and 4 sockets. Verse 17, kol amudei hechatzer saviv mechushakim kesef vavehem kasef. All of the pillars around the courtyard should be banded with silver, and their hooks made of silver, va'adnehem nechoshes, and their sockets made of copper. Verse 18, orech hechatzer me'ah va'amah, the length of the courtyard should be 100 amos, v'rochav 50 b'chamishim, and the width should be 50 by 50 amos, v'koma 5 amos, sheish mashzar, and the height of 5 amos of finely twisted linen, v'adnehem nechoshes, and their sockets made of copper. And verse 19, which brings us to the end of Parashas Terumah, l'chol klei hamishkan b'chol avodaso, all of the utensils for the Mishkan, for every use, v'chol yisedosav, as well as all of the pegs, v'chol yistos hechatzer nechoshes, and all the pegs of the courtyard should be made of copper. Verse 20, which brings us to the beginning of Parashas Tetzaveh, v'ata tetzaveh es bnei Yisrael. Now you shall command the children of Israel, v'yikchu eilecha shemen zayis zach, that they shall bring you pure oil from crushed olives, kasis lamaor, crushed for the lighting of the menorah, lahalos ner tamid, to kindle a lamp, a candle, continually. The intention of the menorah light was to last throughout the whole day and throughout the whole night as well, until it would be processed once again for the next day's use. And finally, verse 21, Bo'ahel moed michutz laparoches, in the tent of meeting outside the paroches, outside the partition, asher al haidus, that is near the ark, the golden ark, Yaroch oso Aharon uvanav me'erev ad boker lifnei Adonai. Aaron and his sons shall arrange it from evening until morning before Hashem. Chukas olam ledorasam me'es b'nei Yisrael. And this shall be a rule for all time for the Israelites throughout their generations. And this brings us to the end of chapter 27. In chapter 28, we will be reading about the Kohanim, the priests, and we will be reading about their uniform that they would wear when they were serving in the Mishkan, as well as the uniform worn by the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, which included some very special items. I look forward to learning that chapter with you. In the meantime, have a wonderful and meaningful day.